Hey, all right. Hey, you guys. Good evening. I'm excited to be here. I'm really super excited to talk about this topic. Happy Mental Health Awareness Day. World Mental Health Day. I've got my Palm Beach County Get Your Green On mental health shirt. If you guys don't know, I'm here in West Palm Beach, Florida, and that's where I live and where I work. I will introduce myself a little bit more as we go and get started with the presentation. So I know you put me on as a panelist. I think this light is like super bright. Oh goodness. Okay. So I should be able to share my screen. I'm getting flashbacks of the retreat when I was having like technical issues. All right, let's see. All right, I should be able to do this. Do it. Yay. All right. I'm gonna pull this friend up. Mhm. Alrighty. So I have everything up. I'm not able to take a look at anything as far as the chat is concerned, but just go ahead and let me know if anything pops up. Tonight we're going to be talking about mental health in the workspace. This can be something that can be challenging to navigate depending on your workspace and the culture of your workspace. Um, I find it important to at least vocalize those expectations from the beginning when you first start a job, just kind of asking questions about what does that look like? How do you guys manage conflict? What do you guys do to celebrate each other? Things like that. So those are just some pretty good things to bring up in the beginning when you first start a job or you're interviewing, things like that. So you can really find out if it's a good, place for you, what the culture looks like, what the resources that they have available for you, and what that looks like, because that can pretty much make or break how you're going to feel on a regular basis. So this is super duper important. So hopefully my kids won't be as active tonight as we're doing this. I cannot find my AirPods, but we're gonna rock and roll as always. So my name is Nicole Hicks. My previously Nicole Richardson, and everyone calls me Nikki. I am a school behavioral health professional in the Palm Beach County School District. I work in an elementary school. I have been in this position for the last 3 years. I've been in mental health for over 10 years. I've been in education for, oh goodness, almost 20 years, because I did start that journey in college. So, and I'm coming up on 20 years being a Gamma very, very soon in December. So, that being said, a little bit of information about me. Everyone calls me Nikki. My line name is Asoleada. I became a sister in fall 2005 at the Irresistible Alpha chapter at the Florida State University. And I'm a member of the Kappa Alpha Gamma Alumni Association, formerly known as FLA. And yeah, so I've been in the sorority for almost 20 years. I did see a few comments on the Instagram post that I did just kind of want to address. Someone actually brought up a really great question about, I guess, me having experience not only being a mental health professional, but having my own mental health challenges, as well as being a professional. That started early on in college. My mother was actually diagnosed with lupus when I was in high school, when she was carrying my youngest brother. And that's when she found out that she had lupus. And when I was in college, my mom got really sick, and I just got really, worried about her health and well being. And, that just kind of put a lot on my plate, being in college, being so far away from home, navigating being away from home, being the oldest child. So I went through a lot of challenges when I was in college, and I've just dealt with a lot of different experiences. I've dealt with depression, I deal with anxiety, PTSD, and sometimes just living with those different types of challenges can make day-to-day life sometimes challenging. It has taken me personally some time to find a regimen and routine that works for me. I was also diagnosed with fibromyalgia when my daughter, which is a few years old, she's 15 now. So just figuring out how my body works, and how taking care of myself makes a big difference. I've navigated a lot of grief and loss. And as life goes on, you develop new skills and you develop new ways of dealing with things. Life goes on. And then when you become a professional, sometimes you do have to put on a happy face and just do what you can. But it also helps you, with your resilience and just being able to knowing how to take care of yourself. So we're really going to be focusing a lot on that tonight. Just a few things. I kind of already introduced myself already. We're gonna do a grounding activity. We're gonna do kind of like a fireside chat. We're just gonna be talking about what you guys have experienced. What does burnout maybe look like for you? Have you experienced it? And things like that. So we're going to be addressing burnout and inner peace at work, proactive self-care, boundaries, and you. How do we set those boundaries? How do we maintain those boundaries? What does that look like? Any questions that you have and the resources from the webinar tonight. So what is mental health, right? It's a state of being in which individuals can cope with the stresses of daily life. So this can change from moment to moment throughout the day, throughout the week. It just really depends on what's going on in your life, how you're able to maintain positive relationships, positive self-talk, and just getting to your fullest potential of your truest authentic self. What does that look like? How do I get there? And just encompassing a different range of aspects of how we're taking care of ourselves and our well-being. So I'm going to talk about a few of them tonight. In the previous webinar that I actually did during our regional retreat, I talked a lot about empowering yourself through self-care, and I shared a lot of resources and tips and just navigating that. What does it look like? How do you take an inventory of your self-care? How do you come up with a plan? How do you have a maintenance plan? How do you have an emergency plan? Things like that, because we all know when we plan, we're less likely to fail, right? At least we'll have that intention behind it. So our emotional well-being is also a part of our mental health. So feeling safe, loved, supported, and being able to manage those emotions effectively. Again, that can range depending on what's going on. As women, we deal with a lot of different hormonal changes and sometimes just different chemical imbalances that can happen different times of the month, the year. No matter, we could be dealing with grief and loss or any of those things that can kind of change the way that our body functions from a biological standpoint. Our psychological well-being, having a purpose, having a sense of purpose, kind of flexibility is one of my favorite things. Actually, it's pretty much just talking about our readiness to be able to just tackle life and deal with challenges and how we feel about being able to do that. So it's part of confidence as well. And being able to make sound decisions. And how do you feel about that? How confident do you feel about doing that? There have been periods of time where I didn't feel confident making, and I didn't feel like I was making sound decisions because I felt like I had made so many challenging decisions in my life. And I was just like, well, how am I going to make a positive decision if I couldn't make these decisions before? But we always got to be as progressive, as we can in our thinking and moving forward instead of being stuck in the past. So explain a little too much. Our social well-being. So as we know, especially with COVID and having some of those social restrictions and social interactions, it kind of took a toll on some people's mental health, especially people who are really extroverted, who like being around people, who who maybe their love language is physical touch, and they just need to be around people. They need to touch people. They need to be in their presence. So building and maintaining those healthy relationships, feeling connected to others, and even contributing to society. When we don't have the opportunity to do that, sometimes that can really wear on us because sometimes it feels really good to help others from a true altruistic, state of mind to be able to give back. And sometimes that in itself is what helps people stay positive and help them be in a good space. Physical well-being. So our body and mind are closely linked. These two things are very intertwined. Sometimes when we are going through some mental health challenges, we can start to feel some physiological symptoms of what that feels like. We feel it in our body. Our body keeps a score. If you've ever heard that book, it's amazing. It pretty much just tells you how our body just really holds on to the things that we've experienced, memories that may not be in the forefront of our mind. They're still there, and our body's like a muscle, right? It doesn't truly go away. We have muscle memory in our mind as well as our physical being. Our sleep, our nutrition, exercise can definitely impact your mental state. If you're not moving enough, sometimes if you're moving too much, and knowing what that feels like and what you need to do for that. That's why self-awareness is so important, because you can kind of get ahead of maybe some challenges that you have experienced before in the past, or just kind of preventing some things. One of the things we're going to be talking about is a meditation. So this is about self-compassion. One of my favorite ones is called the loving kindness meditation. I love it because not only do you focus on, taking care of yourself, you're thinking about other people. So you're going to kind of say the same words in meditation, not only for yourself, to a loved one, to someone neutral, to someone that you may have a challenging or difficult relationship with. Sometimes when we're in those spaces, we may have a hard time being positive and speaking life into that person, because maybe our relationship is strained, or we had a bad situation, or some words were exchanged, and maybe we're just having a really hard time forgiving that person. But at the end of the day, it starts with us. So what that's why self-compassion is so important. It not only comes, it is for us, but when we give that out to others, we also get it back in return. So it helps us with that as well. Another part of that is just all beings everywhere, no matter what relationship that you have to anyone, any way that you may come in contact with someone. It's always really good to put out that positive energy out into the world. And so it's really important to, I believe in energy and karma, and you get back what you put out and things like that, because it's important what we give to others. And if we do it, especially when we do it without expecting anything in return, I feel like that's where we get the most of our, not only feeling good about ourselves, but then we also get good things that come back to us as well. So hopefully this will pull up. This is an example of a guided meditation. It came up earlier. It may just have to come up this way. Let's see. Use it for a second. It paused. It looked like it paused.
A loving kindness meditation for
Calm down. All right. So before we get into that, I just wanted to touch base and see if there was any questions or any comments. Does anyone have about maybe some challenges they've had with self-compassion in the past, or even currently, how you may be navigating some of those things? If you have any questions about anything that I've already presented on, before we move into the guided meditation, because I definitely want to prepare you guys for the next step.
This part, would you want me to let everyone be able to talk, or would you just want them to use the chat?
We can use the chat for now, and then
Okay,
we can hop on and chat after. They can come off of mute after the meditation.
sounds good.
So just really quickly, you can drop something in there. While we're doing that, I want to encourage you guys to get in a comfortable space wherever you are. That can be sitting up, that could be laying down, it could be in a chair, it could just be in a comfortable position. I like to do crisscross applesauce. I don't know why that's very comforting and soothing for me. I even do it in chairs. I keep socks at work because I'll take off my shoes. I don't like, my feet being confined for a long period of time. So those are some things that I've noticed about myself that helps me, and gets my body just moving. Because if I can't move physically by like getting up and moving, it kind of releases some of that maybe like stagnant movement. One of the questions was, how do you deal with negative thoughts about yourself? We are going to talk about a little bit that more in detail a little bit later. But it's just really about reframing those thoughts, especially when you're talking about self-compassion. If you're fine, especially during the meditation, and this is a great question, especially right now, if you find yourself in guided meditations or in meditation in general, and you find yourself getting stuck on a particular thought, a phrase that keeps popping up in your mind, the visuals may pop up in your mind as you're trying to calm your mind and ground yourself, just let it go. Okay. Think of it as clouds, right? You look up at the sky, you're just going to watch the cloud. You're going to just, you're going to see it. You're not going to pass any judgment on it. You're going to allow it just do its thing and move along, right? Sometimes those things are going to pop up, but then we got to just replace it with some positive thoughts. I call myself Nicole when I'm being serious with myself, because I'm like, all right, Nicole, you need to stop that, shut it down. Because sometimes you'll get into that spiral, and you have to set boundaries with yourself and say, we're not going to do that. And just kind of try and nip that in the bud as much as you can. And just keep doing it. Just keep encouraging yourself, especially when we're doing these meditations, because that's the purpose behind it. It may take some time, it may take some practice. Eventually, you will learn to quiet some of those noises in your mind and being able to replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. Having something already prepared is also really helpful too. Anything else really quick? Again, I want to encourage you guys to get comfortable. I wish I had my jacket because I'm cold and I'm shivering. And that is making it very challenging for me right now. Let me get Eva. Can you give me that white blanket that's in that basket over there? So I encourage you guys to get comfortable, whether it's a pillow, a blanket, and the chair in that wicker basket underneath that table right there. Look down. Yep, right there. That way we can help calm our mind down, right? We got to calm our body down. And that may take a little bit, you may need a little bit of assistance. I like blankets and sweaters. I was trying to be good and not cover myself up too much during the webinar, but get comfortable, okay? Alrighty. So we're gonna go ahead and go back into this. Ooh. This is 5 minutes, but I'm gonna let the beginning play a little bit, and then I'm gonna go back to that screen where I had the different parts for you to say to yourself for the self-compassion and what you're gonna say to the other person. So I'm gonna read it out loud, and then to yourself, you're gonna think about yourself and those individuals in those different sections, and you're going to speak those words about that person, right, and yourself as well. So I'm gonna play the beginning of this.
Or self compassion. So we'll practice this sitting down, whether that's on a cushion on the floor or in a chair. We want to find an upright posture. And if sitting upright is not possible for you, if you have a lot of pain or otherwise it's difficult, we can also practice this laying down. And if we are laying down, we may just want to have our eyes gently open so that we don't fall asleep during this. If you're in a chair, let's bring our feet flat on the floor and our hands relaxed and in our lap. And also our back will be upright, not leaning back on the chair, but leaning forward a little bit with our ears in line with our shoulders in line with our hips. So this open and upright position with our eyes either gently closed or, if you prefer, just gently open with a soft gaze. Taking a few moments to bring our attention to our breath, to arrive in this time, in this place right now. And we'll start to repeat a wish of well being for ourselves. And we can silently say to ourselves, may I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. May I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. Offering this gentle wish of well being to ourselves. May I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. Silently repeating this to ourselves. May I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. And have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. Letting these words wash over us. This gentle wish for well being for ourselves. May I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. Anytime we find ourselves distracted, which happens, we just gently observe that we're distracted and then come back to the present moment, into this wish for ourselves. May I have happiness, health, safety, and deepest well being. Now we're going to expand this wish outward.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Feel free to stay in the position and just the thought that you're in right now. That is totally okay, because all of this is about you taking that moment for yourself. If you are still in that moment, that is perfectly okay. I want to encourage you to, um, you can either think about what was just said in the video that we just watched or listened to and watched, or whatever that we have on the screen. So this is a slightly different version. There's different versions of this, but at the end of the day, you can change the words however you want it to be. And we're just going to use the same words for ourselves that we do for others. So to yourself, you will say, may I be kind to myself. May I give myself unconditional love. May I accept myself just as I am. May I be at peace and at ease. Now, to a loved one, again, now we're going outward. We're going to be thinking about someone that we truly care about, that we have a close relationship with. May you be kind to yourself. May you give yourself unconditional love. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be at peace and at ease. Not to someone neutral. Again, someone that you maybe you may not know too intimately or have any negative challenges with or negative thoughts about. May you be kind to yourself. May you give yourself unconditional love. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be at peace and at ease. To someone difficult or that you have challenges with, this may be challenging. This may take a little bit more practice, right? It may take a little bit more self compassion. The more self compassion that we have for ourselves, the more that we'll have for others. So may you be kind to yourself. May you give yourself unconditional love. May you accept yourself just as you are. May you be at peace and at ease. Now, to all beings everywhere, may all beings everywhere be kind to themselves. May all beings everywhere give themselves unconditional love. May all beings everywhere accept themselves just as they are. May all beings everywhere be at peace and at ease. Now, this is just giving yourself a moment not only to give yourself some self compassion, but to extend your self compassion to others. I'll give you guys another moment to stay in that space, and then we're going to slowly move on. Okay, a few more seconds. Now we're going to be talking about maintaining. Now this can be challenging with life's up and downs, but the only thing that we actually have self-control, what we have control over, is how we manage ourselves and our thoughts. Nobody else can do that for us. If we allow that to happen, that means we're doing it ourselves, right? We're allowing them to take that power from us to change the way that we think and the way that we're managing ourselves. So a personal tip, be intentional with the words that you say to yourself. Even the ones that you have to say, no, 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 we're not doing that, right? We want to change the way that we think about ourselves. We want to change the way that we imagine ourselves in our mind, no matter how we're feeling. Me personally, when I'm super duper tired, I have chronic fatigue sometimes, and my brain, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so tired, I'm so tired, I'm so tired. I have to tell myself, stop, you're good. We're going to have a better day. We're going to take a deep breath. I'm going to feel more rested eventually, right? We want to speak some more positive and encouraging words to ourselves. Now, if we are having trouble, continue to be kind to yourself. Have a plan and stay consistent. What is helpful is having pre-written affirmations or statements that you can tell yourself. Activities to decrease your stress and move your body. This can be as simple as sitting and stretching in your chair. It can be yoga. It could be going for a walk, grounding yourself outside in the grass, literally no socks, no shoes. Actually, grounding yourself, being one with nature is very, very, very good for our nervous system and for our body. So doing that in itself sometimes is just really good at resetting our nervous system. Debriefing with ourselves and checking in with ourselves. What were we experiencing? How are we feeling? What caused us to feel that way? What is our intention on how we are going to intentionally go on throughout the rest of the day, right? What is our goal? Even if it is to be calm or be at peace, how are we going to do that? What is that going to look like? And just continuing to be kind with ourselves. Um, Now, oops, I didn't want to do that. Before we get into this part, I wanted to give a moment for anyone who would like to just really quickly just come off mute and just share um, just a really quick, how that meditation was for them, how it was for them to be able to extend self compassion to themselves and extend it to the other individuals that we were extending it to in that exercise.
I'm gonna go. I'll let everyone to talk. It's gonna take a little minute because I have to do one by one.
Okay. I want to give you the opportunity to reflect out loud and share with the group.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. For myself, I personally feel, I don't know, meditation has been a long journey for me. And sometimes with guided meditations, when they're not your own words, I've gotten a little bit more akin to sound, just
Mm.
like empty meditations. I feel like guided meditations, sometimes I don't know what it is about my personality. I just have a hard time taking it seriously, or like it just doesn't hit the same way as like silent meditation for me. But I think that one was a really good one, and I like the way that it was framed. But personally, sometimes it's definitely an adjustment getting used to guided meditations because you do have to have the mindset of taking it seriously and opening yourself up to it. But sometimes that's hard. So, but I appreciated it. It's a good pause.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. Yeah. And in the beginning, I had a hard time with it too because it's like the sounds in my head were just overriding what I was hearing, and I wasn't really paying attention to it. Also, what's really helpful is even doing it in your own voice and listening to it. Maybe that might be something that might be a little bit more encouraging, or
I
even
love
just
that.
bringing
Yeah,
you closer to yourself, hearing your own voice.
that's such a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
Hi, my name's Elizabeth. For mine, I would say I do honestly like meditation. I've tried to meditate before in the past, but I just never really find the time in my day to like continue to do it. But I really like that we're able to take the time today just to like stop whatever we're doing, put down everything and just kind of reflect on ourselves, take a time to breathe and just like reconnect with ourselves. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm glad that that was helpful for you. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else? It can definitely be challenging to take out time. I have to put alarms in my phone to tell myself to do that because sometimes I will just forget. I'll look up and it's like I'm already in bed or it's time for me to put the kids to bed. But definitely being intentional about it and blocking out some time, even if it's in the shower, some pairing it with something we know we have to do every single day, whether we're brushing our teeth, washing our face, doing our hair, just giving ourselves a moment and permission to give ourselves that time. Um, yeah, for sure. Um, it can be really challenging. And those few minutes before you get out of the car, right? Some people, especially if you're a parent, or you're a caregiver, or you just had a really rough day and you're trying to transition from going to work to coming home and not bringing that stuff, and maybe you just got to blast your favorite song before getting into the house, just to kind of like leave all that stuff there and come into, your home, your space, your safe space, which is a different mentality and different energy. That's also being mindful and giving yourself a moment. It can be 60 seconds. It can be, 5 breaths. It doesn't have to be a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, giving yourself permission. Oh no, I need my charger. All right. Great. Thank you so much. If anyone else wants to share, feel free. I'm going to go grab my charger before my computer dies. Change places. I forgot that I did that. All right. So I'm glad that we were able to do that and take a moment for ourselves and slow down. All right, one less thing to worry about. Okay. We are going to move on. Where are you? Where'd it go? Did it share it? Or is it still paused? Oh no, I am sharing. JK. Share. Go back in here. Okay. All right, we talked about that. Okay, what to do versus not to do. Again, speaking positivity to yourself goes a long way. Goes a really long way. Just reframing our thoughts and being very intentional again about the words that we're saying to ourselves. Don't beat yourself up. We're gonna have moments where we're not gonna feel all that great. We just have to find a way to bring ourselves right back up again, even if it's just for the moment. And maybe we need to delay the maybe sulking feeling and just allowing ourselves to feel those feelings just for a little bit at another time, so we can just kind of work its way out of our system. Engage in confidence boosting activities or conversations. So people that what you can talk to about, that you feel comfortable talking to, whether it's about anything and everything, or it's only specific topics, things like that. Just already putting a list together of who you can talk to, who you're not able to talk to about certain things. That way there's less for you to mentally think about and plan out in your mind. And it's a lot easier to just do it versus like thinking and then second guessing. That's what that pre-planned, what that looks like. Surrounding yourself with like-minded people that you trust. Again, energy is important. The energy that you're getting from other people is super duper important, and you want to be able to get that positive, encouraging energy from them as well. So that'll minimize those negative thoughts that we don't want to engage in, and just keeping to ourselves. And know sometimes it can be really easy and sometimes comforting to stay to yourself because it's your thoughts and maybe you're just not ready or comfortable to share them with anybody yet. I would encourage you to find other ways of getting those thoughts out of your mind, whether it's writing it down, using your voice note, and then finding that trusted person that you can talk to about those things. Super duper important not to keep those things trapped in our bodies and trapped in our minds. Okay, so we're going to talk about burnout a little bit and what the clues are when it's on the horizon, when it's starting to set in. A lot of the times when burnout is happening or has happened, we don't know that it's happened until we feel depleted, and we don't want to get to that point. So it can be any of any of these things. It be difficulty making decisions, difficulty concentrating, low productivity, headache, fatigue, insomnia, increased cynicism. So maybe just the way that you talk and think is just very different. It may kind of turn a little dark sometimes. It may seem like sarcasm, and it probably is. But again, that's just, a way of coping and dealing with those things. Being detached from work or things that are important to you, things that bring value and happiness to you. Feeling inadequate or feeling like a failure, feeling like the things that you're doing just isn't good enough no matter how hard you're trying. Maybe you are really giving your best, but then there are these other factors that are keeping you from feeling like you are making progress. Trying to stop it in its tracks before it gets to a point to where it's debilitating. These are just some things we would like to normalize a little bit more in the conversations that we have with people. Again, it's very specific and it's very intentional. So what has been your biggest challenge today? How are you managing that? What does that look like for you? Taking a time to have a mental health day or step away from when things are overwhelming or overstimulating. What does that look like? What does it look like for you? What do you do? Who do you talk to? What are you eating? Right? Where are you physically located? What are the things that you're doing? And then the qualities to foster that support. What does that look like? And then this is both sides, right? So this is active listening with judgment and confidentiality.
And when I took a sip of it,
Sweetheart, sweetheart,
throat was on
sweetheart,
fire.
sweetheart.
Sorry.
So what does that support look like? Active listening, no judgment, confidentiality, validation, and respect for boundaries. Okay. So being able to have these open conversations and learning to just listen. It is hard. I don't know how to be quiet. And sometimes it is really hard for me to just listen and not say anything and not think about what I'm going to say next. We want to give that person that space to be able to just think and talk and just be able to get it out, as well as we may need that for ourselves as well. All right, so the symptoms of burnout, we can see it so many different ways. We'll see it physically, emotionally, psychologically, and behaviorally. We may see some of these more than others. So again, self-awareness is so important. Knowing what things look like, feel like, how your body typically functions, taking a look at your nutrition, eating, sleeping. Are you taking your vitamins, your supplements? What are you doing emotionally to detach from work, detach from conversations and things that may be troubling your mind? Okay, so just giving yourself a moment to take a look at how you're feeling, what you're thinking about, how you're thinking, and how you're behaving. That can be hard to see from, the outside looking in. So those coping mechanisms may look a little bit different depending on what's going on. We may have some positive coping skills, we may have some negative coping skills. But what's important is being able to have those safe, trusted people around you say, hey, you're doing a lot of the things that you said that it doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't, contribute to your well-being. I'm seeing a difference in how, you're showing up for yourselves and how you're thinking about yourself and the way that, you feel. So it's important to have those people who not only hold you accountable, but can help you see that these things are happening too. Factors that contribute to burnout at work. It's a lot of different things, right? Again, your environment is everything. You could be feeling like you're taking on the world, and you probably feel like you have to take on the world. You probably feel like, well, if I don't do it, no one else is going to do it as good as I am. Sometimes taking on more than you would want to because you're worried about giving it to someone else and them messing it up or not doing it the way that you intended it to be done. But then we have to take a step back and go, okay, is this a coaching moment, right? Maybe this isn't a task for this person. Maybe I need to delegate this to someone else who's a little bit more coachable, and who's a little bit more willing to maybe take on this task and take it seriously, or, maybe have a little bit more of those qualities so that way you're not giving too much. Because at the end of the day, if you take a lot from yourself all throughout the day, well, you're not going to have a lot for yourself, your family, or, any of the people that you want to spend that quality time with, not only for yourself, but, for the people that you take care of as well. So there's a few different things on here that may resonate with you more than others. It just really depends on what's going on, but there are a lot of contributing factors. Sometimes it's just one thing all of the time, right? So normalizing mental health at work, just finding your people. Um, it can be challenging. It could be one person. You may find yourself in different groups. You may find yourself in different groups trying to bring everybody together. If you feel like you have the capacity to do that, go right ahead. If you don't feel like you have the capacity to do that, that's fine too. Find your people, find your group, find your person that you can have these conversations with, that you can say, hey, how are you really feeling? I like to do a two-word check-in with my team. Say, hey, how are we doing today? What's a two-word check-in? It could be two positive words. It could be two negative words. It doesn't matter what it is, but let's do a really quick two-word check-in. So as our day is going on, especially when we're having maybe those team meetings or we're just checking in with somebody really quick, because the day can get really stressful. I work in a school. And if one person is dealing with a lot of stress and they're having a really hard time, managing challenges with the students or with other staff members, I wouldn't want them to get to a point of no return, right? Once we do things or say things, we can't take it back. So it's going to be really, really important to have someone that you can, kind of lean on and depend on and be able to say, hey, you need me to take that from you? Or hey, can you take this from me? I need a moment. I need 10 minutes. Can you take that call? Can you take this student? Whatever that may look like. So hopefully this is something that can kind of just give you an idea of some conversations that you can start with some of your coworkers or even just a colleague that maybe you're in the same field, but you don't work in the same environment, that you have that connection with. Okay, so now, what we could do before we get into proactive self care, I'll kind of give you the opportunity to, if you want to continue talking about the burnout, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Have you had these conversations? Are you having a hard time with these conversations? We can kind of, have a little discussion about that right now. Before moving on to the next topic, I'll definitely give us the space to do that. I feel like that is super important. So we can take a few minutes to discuss burnout at work. What does that look like? Have we noticed these symptoms? Have we noticed, things that are systematically in place that makes us feel like this more often than others? So what does that look like for you guys? Mm, mowing the grass. I love that. Thank you, Anna. Any feedback or comments on burnout in the workplace, having those conversations, what may be causing that burnout, or even just reflecting on that in general? I'm going to give you the opportunity. And now, if you don't feel like you have a space to have these conversations, maybe then you can pull in the support of a supervisor or someone that you feel comfortable enough to have that conversation with. So that way it can kind of move past that beginning stage of, just kind of breaking the ice. Taking on too much because, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And you know what? I feel like a lot of that is like control, right? Because you want things to be done a certain way. And especially if it has anything associated with you, you don't want that to be associated with you. But then that's why I think it's also good to be able to have that conversation of, okay, is it a willingness? Is it a capacity? Is it something that this person can be coached? What does that look like? So that way we can all be on the same page because we're a team, we work together. We may have the same goal in mind. We may not have the same goal in mind. Maybe we just need to, address that and trying to get back on the same page as a team. Yeah, wanting things done our way, or by a certain time. So you tend to take it all on. Yeah, yeah. And I think what we're going to be talking about, later on with being proactive with our self-care and setting boundaries is going to help us with that burnout because it allow us to self-reflect and plan it out, right? What does that look like? I work in a school setting, so I make DCF calls. I deal with challenging parents. I deal with challenging teachers, staff members, challenging students. What does it look like on a day that I'm having a hard time in any one of those areas, right? What do I do after I need to make a DCF call? What does that look like? Do I, come home and just go for a walk? Do I watch my favorite show? Do I eat, ice cream, or have a specific meal that I eat, a comfort meal that I eat to just, kind of reset myself and feel, try and feel a little bit better about the things that I had to talk about? Or I'm getting frustrated with another student or another colleague, or especially with when it comes to roles and asking for help and relying on people to do things that, you know, if you don't take it on yourself, then you're worried that you're going to have to do it anyway, right? But then who is the person who actually has to deal with it at the end of the day? Is it really you? Is it your supervisor? Is it another person you can have a conversation with? Maybe you can get in touch with that, get with that person and see what's really holding them back, how you can support them, just from a standpoint of I am really trying to be there and support you, because I want us to be on the same page. I want us to be a team, and I don't want us to feel like one person is taking on more than the other person is taking on. I feel like checking on your coworkers too is a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. And you can even just get started with whomever you work closely with, right? If maybe you don't have a connection with anyone yet and you're working on making a connection, um, you know, sometimes it can be really isolating at work. I'm in a position where I am kind of by myself. I'm not a teacher, I'm not an administrator. I don't have my own space, I don't have a grade level. So sometimes I am kind of by myself. So I have to find little pockets of, groups that I can, have that conversation with and check in on them, and then them check on me, especially my mental health team. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, especially when you deal with people who have a crisis. Again, it's about what does that look like for yourself? Being more proactive with that self-care. More than my to not necessarily see it. Yeah, there needs to be more emotional intelligence in the workplace, and trauma informed care across the board, because people deal with all sorts of different things, and if we're not attuned and aware that people deal with those things and that could be affecting them in different capacities, we're going to keep acting the same way all of the time. We're never going to change, but we have to take care of ourselves. And sometimes it can be very burdensome, but we have to find a way to break free from that, even if that's just saying, you know what, at 12 o'clock, I'm done today, or next Thursday, I'm not going to be here today. And this is what I want that to look like when I come back, or this is the protocol as far as how I'm going to handle things when I come back. That way, that expectation has been set, and you're going to do what you need to do, because at the end of the day, you can't pour from an empty cup. Right. And empathy is very, very important and crucial, especially in the workspace. Thank you so much for everyone and your feedback. Control. Yes, we seem to all be dealing with a lot of the same things. Um, Being relied on too much, and learning to say no. You got to learn to say no more. All right. Thank you guys. All right. I'm going to jump back in here so we can start to move on to the next few things. Thank you so much for sharing. All right. So, proactive self-care, have a prepared list or activities and items that you're going to use for self-care. It could be a book, it could be coloring, it could be puzzles. I had something out that I was really excited to share with you all. It was actually an activity zine created by one of our siblings, Angelica, and I don't know where it went. I think one of my kids picked it up and did something with it. So I'll have to share it at another time. But little coloring books. Actually, I don't think you can see because I'm sharing my screen. So coloring books, word puzzles, things like that, having those things handy, even if you have them everywhere. You have them in your office, you have them in your car, you have them in your purse. You have it accessible. The more accessible something is, the more likely you're going to use it. Have a reoccurring pre-planned day and time for yourself. Again, that could be your morning routine, your nighttime routine, your shower, your 5 minutes before you get out of the car, or if maybe you're going to yoga Tuesday and Thursday mornings or night or whatever that may look like. Have something that is reoccurring, that is set for yourself, and that does become your non-negotiable. By the way, that's how we know that we're going to take care of ourselves, right? Take an inventory of your self-care regularly. I recommend you doing that about every 3 months. Just kind of taking a look at each area of your life and how you're managing those feelings, those behaviors. Do we have more positive and negative ways of dealing with things? Are we kind of regressing on what our goals were? What does that look like? And keeping ourselves accountable. Having an accountability buddy too is very, very helpful. That's why that community is so important. Those daily non-negotiables, what does that look like? The top 3 things I'm going to get done today, no matter if it's raining, snowing, sleeting, the lights turn off, I can't find my keys, phone dies. What are the 3 things that I'm going to get done today, no matter what? They don't have to be really big things. They can be very simple things. Be kind to yourself. Speaking positivity into yourself. Keep it simple, keep it small, keep it something that you can attain, right? And get it done because it's going to help you feel better. Boundaries. What are you willing to tolerate? What does that look like? It could be words, conversations. It could be personal space. Sometimes people don't understand boundaries in personal space. Be very specific. Sometimes we may feel like we're at war because we may constantly have to bring this up over and over again. But be firm and be confident and don't back down. Stick to it. Be consistent and work on that confidence with that. It took me a while myself to speak up for myself and say, you know what, I don't like that. No, that's actually not okay for me. No, I really don't want to do that. I really don't feel comfortable when this is said or when this is done. Um, and people will honor that more. So that can be a challenging thing to do on a regular basis. So just kind of wrapping it up, just some things to remember. You only have one you. Take care of it. Take care of yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, and remember, your job is a job. Whether it's, you're an entrepreneur and it is something that you're doing on your own or you're working for somebody else, it is a job. And your body, your health, your family is important. In order for you to be able to do well at your job or whatever it is that you do, whatever it is that you're putting your time and energy into, we have to start with ourselves, reminding ourselves that we matter, we are enough. Don't forget your worth, even if it is even just to yourself, right? That's where it starts. Your talent and your special gifts are always needed, no matter where you are, no matter what is happening. You are unique, and everything that you have to offer can only happen through you. So don't forget that. I am going to open the floor to questions. I did see something pop in here. Let's see. Sounding very important. Yes. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I mean, I still struggle with it sometimes, and it's just something. It's an ongoing thing that it's important for you to just continue to keep practicing, continue to get better at finding your voice, finding your strength, even if you're using the same words over and over again. That helps. That repetition, it helps. It does more than you think that it does. Um, I am going to, if there's any other questions, feel free to ask them. You can come off of mute. The pictures that I have was from this website here, from actually this provider. She had a lot of really great information on breaking the cycle and workout. Burnout in the workplace, the guided meditation. There are so many of them online. Again, feel free to just go and find something that works for you, or even I recommend just using your own voice. I love guided meditations. I use them a lot with my students. It is amazing, and I like doing follow-up activities. I'm doing them with students, doing them with clients, and just really helping them to just defragment those thoughts that are in their mind and and we're not even necessarily trying to understand them, right? We're just trying to separate them. So that's something that is really good for them. This is my information. So this is my business Instagram, Rays of Behavior Consulting, and then my personal Instagram, and then my link tree is actually on my IG link, so you have access to it there. I think that was it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I am a very open person. Even when I was an undergrad and even as an advisor, my door is always open. You can always send me a message. You can always send me a voice note. Um, I have done so many of these different types of webinars and seminars and presentations. I did a commencement speech for Purdue Global, my alma mater for my master's program, and I still receive feedback and comments from the people from those commencements. And really, it really helps me. It helps remind me of the work that I do, and my door is always open. So if you guys have any questions, you need anything, anything that I mentioned that maybe I didn't have an actual resource for you, especially the self-care stuff, just let me know. I don't have a problem sending that to you too. So thank you guys for your time, your Friday evening, spending it here talking about, mental health and just taking a moment to really give back to ourselves. Our mental health is just as important as our physical health. So I hope that everyone takes time to take care of themselves. So if you have any questions, just let me know. You guys are so welcome.
Thank you for showing up, and thank you so much, Nikki, for all that information. It is a great reminder to ourselves to take care of ourselves and that our mental health is just as important as our physical health. And also reminding us that sometimes burnout, we don't realize that it's happening until after the fact. And I think that's something that we can now take notice of, just because it's so important and it's really true. We really don't notice it until sometimes it's too late. So thank you for that. I'm also going to stop the recording just in case anybody do have any questions and if they're personal. And once again, thank you all so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for